What is going on, wonderful people? I hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to be breaking down Polygon. I'm going to be breaking down my process of how I'm valuing it and how I'm predicting that value into the future, and basically my exact process and thought process as to where, when, and why I am getting into Polygon and what I'm looking for, how I'm going to be managing things, all of this sort of stuff. So hopefully, whether you like Polygon or you don't like Polygon at the end of this video, just the seeing a process of going through some analysis and how I'm breaking some things down, hopefully it will help you. Obviously, none of it is financial advice. I have no way of determining your individual financial situation, so always go and do your own due diligence, and just be careful out there and make sure you always know what you are doing. Never just listen to anybody on YouTube, full stop. And so so I hope that you enjoy the video. So the first things first is I just want to break down the rough process that we're going to be going through. And so in bold here, we've got all of the individual main concepts. And so these are the things that I deem most important. And then underneath, we've just got some examples of ways that we can come to, some or all of these major bolded statements. So for example, number one, clear challenge and a demand for a solution. If you haven't got a clear challenge and you haven't got any demand for the solution to that challenge, then there is no value at all. Okay. Now, I want to first of all make a clear distinction, and that is the difference between value investing or investing based on value versus hype-based investing. Now, I've spoken about this a few times on the channel, but this is a clear example of an approach that is based on trying to find the value because there is intrinsic utility being used. Not intrinsic utility, I didn't mean to say that, but there is just utility of that particular project. In Polygon's case, we have the entire user base of Ethereum potentially at our fingertips here because it works and provides a better experience and many other things which we'll discuss in this video to that group of people. And so we know there is a clear demand, and as we go further on, we'll see that there are clear challenges. But some examples of how you may estimate the demand is, what is the estimated size of all relevant networks to a project? So what do I mean by that? Well, if we have the Ethereum network, which is what Polygon integrates with and allows interoperability with, then if we understand the size of the Ethereum network, we can begin to kind of reverse engineer the potential size of the Polygon network. Likewise, if we look at the estimated size of the user base, that's kind of just reiterating the same point. So after we've established that there's a clear problem and there is a demand for a solution to that problem, then we can begin looking and comparing the different solutions available. Now for this, I'll be looking mainly at the top 1 to the top kind of 5 solutions. They tends to be how it works, especially as we go up to these more conservative picks, top 20, top 30, top 25, I'd say, cryptocurrencies in the space, especially in DeFi. And so let's break down how that would work. So understanding the pros and cons of all major solutions. Not all pros and cons are created equal, which is the second point right here, evaluating the priority of pros and cons to come to an estimation about which is most important, therefore highlighting the highest probability winner long term. What do I mean by this? Well, simply, you can have one pro which delivers 10,000 times the speed of another network versus another pro which is, it's got a it's got a new feature in the user interface that's going to save 0.01 second of a user's time. Now, of course, that is a very weird and wacky example that isn't likely to be true in reality, but it's important that we understand that each pro and con has a different value. They're not all equal, and so by establishing what the values are roughly of each of these, then it will allow us to come to a clearer decision about which actually has the most pros and the most cons at the end of the day from a objective or as objective as possible approach. Now, as a subsector to this, if we compare a project's white paper solution to non-biased reviews, so in Polygon's example, when we go through the white paper, we'll look at the pros and then the cons, and then compare that to non-biased reviews. I'm not going to go through all of this in the actual video. These are just examples of the approach that I have taken to produce the video that you're about to see, but it just gives you a little bit of an insight into how this is done. And the reason for that is obvious. When you have a project that creates their own white paper, obviously they're going to be biased in their own favor. Even if they tried not to be, they would by definition be biased. And so we need to compare that to non-biased reviews. And so after that, we can come to our own conclusions, which hopefully will be non-biased. Obviously, there will always be an element of bias in everything, but relatively speaking, there won't be much bias. And then we can take those and we can start comparing our different non-biased opinions of lots of these different solutions in order to come to a conclusion about, okay, who is the best here? Because that's the main question. If we've got a clear challenge and a clear demand, all we're looking for is who's providing the best, or the top 1, 2, 3 best solutions. And then we can progress on to looking at, okay, cool, is the current valuation a lot lower than it could potentially be in the future based on our estimations? Okay. Next thing, team. Essentially, we're just looking for some sort of experience here and an advisor board. One thing to keep in mind is, blockchain is still very, very new in terms of a technology. And so, when you go back to looking at people's resumes, you're not going to be able to go back, 30 years into the past because it is very, very new. And so experience, you have to take with a pinch of salt, but having a good advisor board as well is just an extra plus. Number 4 is really the meat and potatoes here. Obviously, it is reliant on 1 and 2 in particular, but estimating the value into the future is going to be the most critical part, because if you can't estimate a rough idea of where the value is and what the potential value could be, how on earth do you know whether it's undervalued right now? In other words, how do you know you're getting it at a discount and not getting it at a premium to get in? Okay. And so these are not the only ways to predict value. They're not even complete valuation methods. This is just an example of how you can begin the process of gauging the value of a particular project. And so this is mainly talking about the industry value. So examples could be the number and size of any application of the project or a related project. So for example, looking at the size of the current Polygon network, looking at the size of a competitor's network, looking at the size of Ethereum's network, and kind of reverse engineering that way. Then you could compare to the largest competitors. I have already touched on that, but that is just the beginning of how you can begin to form an approach. For example, Polkadot, about a $40 billion market cap. We can compare that to Polygon. We know they've got kind of similar, not identical, but similar sort of goals and similar use cases. And so we can begin to see, okay, cool, well, they've got a $40 billion market cap, about 4 times Polygon. Maybe that could be something that we could reach in the future, but I will discuss all of this as we go further on in the video. And then number 5 is easy, just comparing where we are currently to our estimation of the future value. Okay, those are going to be the main things that I'm looking for in this particular breakdown. So I hope that you enjoy it. So first things first, demand. First, we need to understand Ethereum and its limitations, which ultimately come down to its scalability. In layman's terms, basically the speed and the cost of transactions, which Ethereum is known to have major issues in, with the high gas fees and the slow transaction speeds, especially as we have congestion on the networks. Now, Ethereum 2.0 is still not fully out, hence the success of a layer 2 blockchains that aim to solve issues with Ethereum scalability. Polygon is an example of this. Now, if you don't know, Ethereum 2.0 it's a very long process to actually get it out and into circulation and being used. And so I will make another video on this in a little bit more depth, but just for now, understand that Ethereum currently is congested, especially with the growing demand. And so layer 2 blockchains, which are basically just blockchains that run on top or alongside a blockchain. And so Polygon basically is one of these that helps with the scalability. And Ethereum has arguably the best ecosystem for developers despite its flaws, and so demand for Ethereum compatible blockchains that allows developers to take advantage of this whilst removing the negatives that come with it is huge. In other words, we've got a great ecosystem in Ethereum built up, and it doesn't make sense to constantly be switching ecosystems, because once we've got something that works and we've got a really good community, going and doing all of that again, you've just got to keep going from scratch. And so it does make sense to improve existing networks, whether that comes from within with Ethereum 2.0 or from outside, which is what Polygon and layer 2 blockchains specific to Ethereum at least do. And so the Polygon white paper says, however, there is no specialized framework to build such blockchains nor a protocol to connect them. This introduces significant development challenges and causes ecosystem fragmentation. So what this is this is the core problem that Polygon aims to solve. It aims to solve the scalability issues, it aims to reduce the costs, improve the speed, and ultimately they aim to be the internet of blockchains, meaning they hope to have the to be the blockchain that connects all other blockchains, okay, in the same way that the internet connects us from, you know, company to company, website to website, you know, different data point to data point, if you want to think about it like that. And so, yeah, so it basically prevents the fragmentation that can come from other layer 2 solutions and other solutions in general. Okay, so that's the demand. We've got a clear problem there. We have a clear demand. You know, it's no secret that the Ethereum network is massive and growing, but it does have these issues, and it's no secret that that is true either. And so moving on to the supply. So the total supply is 10 billion, I think, just off the top of my head, I believe that's true. Yeah, okay. And then the circulating supply is about 70% of that. That's pretty good because it means most of the supply is in circulation, and it is a fixed supply, meaning that the supply, at least to the best of my knowledge, isn't going to increase. And so this is another positive for the longevity of price, provided that they continue to provide the best or one of the best user experiences for their users. And so 500 times cheaper costs than Ethereum, that's massive. 10,000 times faster speeds than Ethereum. I'm not sure how accurate these things are, but I'm pretty sure they're accurate based on the source that I got these from, even if they are, you know, slightly off. And that's very, very fast. Next thing is the Ethereum user interface is difficult and unfriendly to most, and Polygon have provided a simplified user experience that runs on top. Again, this is another thing which is reducing the barrier to entry, especially for those lower end developers or developers who just don't like a headache. I don't know any developers who do. And so again, so it's just another great thing. Other Ethereum scalability blockchains fragment the Ethereum network. We touched on this earlier. In simple terms, this means that no one single blockchain allows reliable interoperability, which is when we allow seamless communication and interaction between different types of blockchains. Again, what I was talking about in terms of it aims to be the internet of the blockchains, which is allowing, you know, lots of different blockchains to be connected and integrated within one another. Let's go to these features here. I believe I've got it. Okay, so this is not the full list, but this just gives you an idea. We've got a brief comparison between Polkadot, Cosmos, all of these different things, and Polygon hits all of these points. Obviously, I believe this is from Polygon, so has to be taken with a pinch of salt, but generally speaking, Polygon is a very, very attractive solution. Next thing is they have a very, I've already spoken about that. Let's go to this next picture here. So this is something that I thought was really, really interesting from the Polygon blog, and it is the Polygon versus Ethereum daily active addresses. And we can see that basically since the 1st of October, we have been matching, if not beating, Ethereum in terms of daily active addresses. Now, if we look at how that compares to what's been going on with price, and we go over to the 1st of October, so around about here, we can see that it's no surprise then that we did have this pump up here. Why am I saying this is the only cause? No, probably not, but it is definitely an influencing factor. And the truth is that if it has this many users and they are continuing to stay, which it looks like they are just from this graph alone, then that is a huge, huge thing, because it means that we are, again, even though we already were in the utility-based approach, it just means that more and more adoption means that prices are going to be a lot less likely to go to the floor. And again, this just reduces our risk just that little bit more, which is a really, really good thing. Next thing is the team. I'm not going to spend too much time here. It's a decent team. They've got some decent experience between them, and the advisor board I also like the look of as well. And so establishing value into the future. So some competitors, Polkadot, Cosmos. Polkadot I particularly want to focus on because, as I mentioned previously in the video, about a $40 billion market cap. And the current market cap of Polygon in comparison is about $11 billion. Now, at the most basic level, Polkadot has almost 40 billion market cap, and whilst this isn't an identical solution to Polygon, it's an easy way to gauge the potential. And if Polygon keeps doing what it's doing, this could be a very interesting project to watch, and it also could be a very, very interesting first target at about a $40 billion market cap, so about a 4x from where it is right now. And so that's the first thing. $30 billion is my conservative market cap estimate, so about a 3x from where we are right now. And then estimation date is hard to specify, you know, as in when this market cap will be achieved, because it depends on, let me just correct that. It depends on Ethereum, which will depend on Bitcoin. And if a major dip comes, then this will obviously extend the time before we see this valuation achieved. Okay, and so let's just actually expand on that a little bit. So if we go over to Bitcoin, obviously we're in this corrective move right now. Okay, depending on what happens here, if this turns into another bear market like we had over here, then I think obviously we're going to see a much deeper dip because Ethereum will dip, which causes Polygon to dip as a result of that. And so we will see a deeper movement. If that happens, then I will just be buying up Polygon at lower prices. But the main reason I brought that up is because it's going to depend on where my, in terms of my time prediction about when this is going to happen, will take place. And so there are two main scenarios. If the current Bitcoin correction does not turn into a bear market, for me, I would define a bear market as kind of anything over 30, 35, 40%. I know there's a specific definition for what defines a bear market, but I'm just using these terms loosely here because I don't really think it's that important to get lost in the definitions. And so next thing is, if the current Bitcoin correction evolves into a bear market, I see a subsequent dip in Polygon, which will allow me to accumulate more buys at a discounted price, expecting a recovery to $20 billion within 8 months after the high before the bear market. So for example, if this was the high before the bear market, the equivalent on Polygon. So if we just go back. So let's just say this was the highest we made before we went into a bit of a bear market and prices went down here. I think that it wouldn't be long before we came and took out this high over here. And then beyond that, it would begin to soar. And then after the high before the bear market, and then a likely $40 billion valuation within a year. I think these are fairly conservative bets, to be completely honest with you. But again, it really does depend on the overall bear market. And these things are, they're obviously going to be subject to change. It's these are just things to be aware of. And also, if you guys would like me to create a Twitter so you can get kind of more up-to-date updates of what I'm doing, then do let me know, because I know I've been getting more involved with Twitter recently, just on a consumer side, despite my best efforts to avoid it, because it's just so great for the crypto space. I'm sure most of you guys know that. But for anyone who is on the fence like I was and just like, oh God, another social media platform, then I do recommend, going through the just getting involved with it. You don't have to follow loads of people. Just pick, 5 to 10 people you really, really look up to and that you respect, and then just follow those people. And then after that, so again, in terms of these prices, if we do continue to pump and this Bitcoin correction is just a correction, then I do believe in 1 to 4 months, we could easily achieve a $30 billion market cap, which will be a 3x on the money that I put in. And so the next thing is technicals and my entry points. So if we just look at where price is currently and Polygon, you can see that we're in a nice corrective move right here. I got in yesterday as well, so I believe I got in there. I also got in there. But my main strategy is I'm going to be dollar cost averaging into the move. So if it goes deeper, that will be a trigger for me to dollar cost average some more in, up to a set amount of my portfolio. So I'm not going to give you the exact percentage of my portfolio that I'm willing to put into Polygon, but for those of you that know me well, you'll know that I am fairly risk averse, or I'm just very sensible with my risk. And so I'm not going to be betting the farm on this. I will risk a small amount, and because I'm interested in the long term as well as the short term, but I just want to keep my skin in the game, really. And so it will either be for a bigger dip, or it will be kind of every 10 to 15 days, I'll just be looking to get in, because there's always a chance that it won't go down lower. And so I am not trying to time the market here. I'm just trying to get in at discounted prices in relation to the future. And then in terms of my trade management, I'll be rolling out profits made every 20% gain into more conservative projects in crypto. So for example, into things like Ethereum, with every, let's just say I'm 20% up, I'll probably take out about 20% of that, and then I'll roll that into Ethereum or something like that. Or I will also roll some out into projects outside of crypto for diversification, because I don't just want to keep everything inside of crypto, but most of it will be kept within crypto, because I kind of keep my crypto portfolio fairly inclusive. And so I don't see it as a major issue, because I'm not just putting everything into crypto, is what I'm trying to get at. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. I would appreciate you leaving a like if you find these sorts of videos helpful. If you would like me to break down anything that I've said in this video that you thought wasn't clear, or if you'd like anything else, or maybe a video on how I'm managing my portfolio, or any of these sorts of things, then please do let me know in the comment section below. I do deeply appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.